top safety official Joseph Hendry, he agreed with the recommendation, but he rejected it, saying that it could well mean the end of nuclear power. Now, the problems that were raised in those earlier memos are what led to the disaster here in Japan. And I wanted to point out that the United States has, since those memos were written and then ignored or rejected, licensed and has operating 23 of this type of nuclear reactor.
I also wanted to, that was Diana Regal, the Nuclear Information and Resource Service, who spoke with us last night. Paul Gunter, I'd like to ask you about the news has been worse each day in the efforts to try to get control of these crippled reactors. But if the government is able now to finally bring electricity back, as they've been saying, they've been trying to string a new line, and to begin bringing water back into these reactors and into the spent fuel pools, do you envision any problems if they're able, continuing problems if they're able to get the water back on?
Well, let's first of all realize that what's been demonstrated at this catastrophe is that nuclear power is going to be more of a liability than it is an asset during natural disaster or national crisis. We sincerely hope that the Tokyo Electric Power Company can restore power, but these 6 units are history. The best we can do right now is see them buried under concrete, and hopefully that can contain it. That's the best scenario right now. But clearly, if you want to actually have civil defense, the real issue here is to prevent this from happening, and we believe that means mean you promptly shut down these most dangerous reactor designs all over the world, and then we begin the rapid phase out of this inherently dangerous technology and phase in a 21st century energy policy of renewable energy and energy efficiency.
Well, Paul Gunter of the Nuclear Watchdog Group Beyond Nuclear, I want to thank you for being with us. Carl Grossman, professor at SUNY Old Westbury, thank you, and a continuing investigative journalist on the issue of nuclear power. I want to thank both of you for being with us. We'll be back in a moment with reports on what is going on in Japan right now.
So why let the silence kill a true utterance? Why make the homeless scrub up your guttering? Who let the science build the righteous teachers? We let defiance lift the roof for the creatures. Treasures are stolen, then dumped in the ocean. Oh, what we do to a motherland, caution. Murder she wrote in her will in a eulogy. Offsprings cremate her to create energy. Smoke rise, holy figures burn in effigy. Solar eclipse on the night of an effigy. Earth spin around the doomsday clock. Messing around now, the whole building block is hot. Slagging rocks on the fly, walking on a tight cabling. Gambling the top of the periodic table. Make fate bring together minds that are able to express from an independent label to rep a hard knock cradle. It's time to rock a show. Let the name ring worldwide, rock a show. What we don't need for show, yet another Chernobyl. Thinks like thought, but till then remain hopeful. My people, you wanna see the whole plot like a constellation. You connect the dots. See the outline of a master plan at hand. Train rhyme named Desire, headed for disaster. Charged like plasma, shatter like plaster. Cause we wanna get from point A to B faster. Set your soul on an auction bid. Better yet, set your cell on vibration, kid. This theater has no spin, like a turbine. No script set for this year by the genuine population. The path we must take for a major alteration. Extreme consumption to wise moderation.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Juan Gonzalez. We go now to Japan, to a photojournalist there, Tetsuo Jimbo, who's been working in Miyagi Prefecture, one of the areas hardest hit by the tsunami. Welcome to Democracy Now! Tetsuo Jimbo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, welcome to Democracy Now!
Thank you.
Can you tell us what you're seeing in the areas that you've been covering the past few days?
Okay, I was about Rikuzen Takada City and Kesenuma City, both are in northern Japan, north of Miyagi Prefecture. And basically what I saw was just a total destruction, especially the Rikuzen Takada City. It's a city with a population of about 20,000, but the whole city is basically wiped out. There's hardly any houses left, and still about half the population of the city is still missing.
And what kind of efforts has the government been able to reach the population that is now homeless with sufficient supplies? What kind of government presence do you find there?
Well, still the government is in the process of, searching for possible survivors, though the hope is getting, more and more slim. But they're still searching for survivors. And at the same time, they're trying to remove the debris that the tsunami has carried into the city. Tons of debris. But because the streets are all covered by debris, so they have to start with clearing the street first, and then go into the sort of a city area. But right now, it appears that it's going to take not weeks or not months, but even years to clear all the debris that the tsunami has carried into the city.
And how has what's been going on in the nuclear power plants, the disaster there, affected the ability of the government to provide sufficient assistance in the emergency to the population that's been affected by the tsunami?
Well, that's very clear. The government is overwhelmed to respond to what's happening, to the series of unexpected events surrounding the nuclear reactor. So they don't have enough personnel to devote to respond to the relief effort or rescue effort, and also media attention is more focused on the nuclear reactor than the tsunami disaster. So I think it is hampering the government's ability and the public attention to the issue of a tsunami and the people affected by it.
Have any of the basic services, electricity, water, been restored in any part of the areas that you've been in?
Not yet. Right after the earthquake, majority of the northern Japan was out of power for some time. And most of the major cities have recovered the power. But the area I've been to, Kesenuma and Rikuzen Takata, still completely out of power, out of water, and almost the entire population is spending in the refugee camp right now. And
the conditions in the shelters for the homeless and the refugee camps, how are they?
Mm-hmm. Still very severe. They're mostly put in the gymnasiums of junior high schools and elementary schools. In one shelter, there were about 500 people sleeping on the floor of the gymnasium. There's only two very small gasoline stoves to heat up the room. So the room was very cold. They have at least they have water now, but only food they have access to is some bread and rice bowl, and they've been eating the same food in the past 5-6 days. And most of the people there are elders, so it is getting very tough on them, on their health.
Well, thank you. We're also joined by Stephen Lieber. He's the chairperson of the Peace Culture Foundation, which manages the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum in Hiroshima. Well, welcome to Democracy Now!, Peter. Stephen.
Thank you.
Could you tell us, from your perspective in Hiroshima, how the population there is dealing with or trying to assist their fellow countrymen in other parts of the nation who've been affected by the tsunami, as well as by the catastrophe at the nuclear power plant?
Yeah, I think in Hiroshima, we are pretty sensitive to radiation issues, and we're very sensitive to disaster issues. And, this thing happened on a Friday. By Saturday, we had already sent up a helicopter and a bunch of trucks and all of the blankets in our emergency location, and Several trucks of water we also sent. We actually, at the museum, we have a process that we're supposed to go through in order to be able to put out donation boxes for something. But we were practically forced by the people to forget that process and just put the boxes out. So we put the boxes out, they were out by Saturday, and people have been donating thousands of dollars, trying to do whatever they can to help. I think, one other thing is that we are known as a place that knows about radiation. We have a team of doctors, I think they left yesterday to go up into that area with their equipment to try and figure out exactly what kind of radiation is up there. This is the big complaint that we have. Our doctors, one of our lead doctors, Dr. Hoshi, was on television the other day, and he was complaining that the government doesn't explain what is in the air right now. And they're talking about millisieverts, this and that, but it's meaningless unless you know exactly what the isotopes are that are getting out. So they're going up to find out what that is. We've also prepared a lot of apartments and a lot of, the hospitals are making preparations to receive radiation victims, people who are suffering from radiation poisoning or need treatment in some way. And so far, as I know, we haven't had any. We have had some refugees from up there coming down here to get away from that area, come to, stay with friends and relatives in Hiroshima. But as far as I know, we haven't had anybody suffering from radiation poisoning here. Well,
Steve Leeper, I'd also like to ask you, the Japanese public has been very supportive in the past of peaceful nuclear energy uses, despite the enormous history of the use of atomic weapons in Japan. What do you think is going to be the result of this catastrophe now in terms of public opinion in Japan about nuclear energy?
I have the feeling that we are witnessing the end of the nuclear renaissance. There was I can't remember if it was the governor of Fukushima or a mayor of one of the local towns, but some official got on and he was very angry. He said, they've been telling us all these years that this is impossible, but it's now happening. There is general anger. I know here in Hiroshima, the anti-nuclear people went down to the local power company, which is trying to build a nuclear power plant in Kaminoseki, which is about 60 kilometers south of here, and they delivered a statement demanding that all work stop immediately on Kaminoseki. And the word I've gotten is that the power company is not going to have the money to build that. They're going to be putting their money into trying to recover from what happened up north. So the feeling around here that I get even from people who are, not your average anti-nuclear power person, just the average person is saying, no, this is the end of nuclear power. Although, we are very committed to it. The nuclear industry in Japan is one of the most powerful nuclear industries in the world, and they won't lie down without a fight, I don't think. And
okay, well, Steve, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you, Stephen Leeper, the chairperson of the Peace Culture Foundation, which manages the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum in Hiroshima.